Guys. Um, Here we go. All right. Hello, Lauren. Um, Fabrics. Right up my street, girl. Sue Burrows. Hello. Welcome everybody. This is my name is Crispina French. I am a textile upcycling artist, activist, entrepreneur, and coach, host, a podcast host, and there are so many super exciting things going on right now for me. I just can't wait to share with you what's exciting that's going on with you, which is probably more important if we are telling the truth here. I would love to know what you're up to. What do you have a creative process? What is your most favorite creative process? Do you like to knit? Are you a potter? Do you like to write stories or poetry? There's this really cute boy at the grocery store who's like, I don't know, maybe he's 16 or 17 years old, and his name is William. He's the bagger, and he's an amazing poet, which I always remind him that, hey, you're a poet. And he's always like, oh, really? And how did you know? And I'm like, well, you bag my groceries every week. So if you have a creative process you'd like to share, maybe you have a link you want to share that sort of highlights what you're up to, this is a really nice place to do that, and just to let other people know who are watching, who else is out there and what you're up to. So please do share. If you are, Anita from Sweden has joined us. So my favorite creative process, you guys, is to make things out of garbage. I mean, people think it's garbage, but I know better, and you might know better too, especially if you're here. So this year, it was so funny. Last night I was talking to my husband and kids at dinner time, and I was like, I'm in this frenzy of creative, oh my gosh, having so much fun, staying up until midnight and getting up early and making, because I love it so much. And it's been a long time since I've been really producing a lot of product to sell. So there's two shows that I have coming up this year, which are my only two shows that I do each year. And last year I only did one show. It was the Holiday Shindy in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the show I'm preparing for right now is called the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, and it's in Rhinebeck, New York, on October 15th and 16th. And if you are in the northeastern region of the United States, it is an amazing event. It's mostly outdoors. I have an indoor booth, which is awesome because sometimes it can be quite chilly, but it's at this beautiful, the peak of the foliage. So all the trees are just in these amazing colors, reds and oranges and yellows. And there's usually just the bluest of blue skies and sunshine and all kinds of interesting, cool people who are selling their wool wares or buying wool wares. You can buy sheep, you can buy sheepdogs, you can buy fleece, you can buy my sweaters, you can buy everything in between. Anything that has to do with sheep or wool is featured at the show. They even have a lot of their food vendors serve lamb, which I thought was so funny the first year I went there, because firstly, I'm a vegan, and I thought, lamb, why would you serve lamb at the Sheep and Wool Festival? And then I was like, oh yeah, sheep, lamb, it's part of the whole process, right? The cycle, the circle, right? This is important business if you are in that trade. So I have nothing against people who eat meat. I just choose to be vegan because that works well for me. So and Lisa Ann, thank you. It's so true. She says, someone's trash is someone's treasure, not garbage. You're absolutely right. It's so common. And so I'm going to try to stay focused because obviously I'm just really excited. So Sheep and Wool Festival, try to get there if you can. If you are someone who's pipe dreaming of a visit to the northeastern part of the United States in the future, I would recommend October. And I would recommend Rhinebeck, New York, the third full weekend of October every single year. The New York Sheep and Wool Festival, I think, has been going on, I'm going to say 40 years, something like that. It's been going on a long time. And I've been selling there for, it's been at least 10 years. And I don't know exactly which year I started. I'll have to look that up. But it is by far and away my favorite fall show of the year. And then the other show that I just mentioned briefly, and I want to go back to, is called the Holiday Shindy. And it's actually a show that I founded. back in 2006. And my dear friends Lauren and Liza, who were my shindy assistants for many years, have taken it on as their thing, which is awesome. The building that we first hosted the holiday shindy in was a building that my husband and I owned in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. It was a beautiful, huge, and gorgeous brick church that was built in 1865. And we sold the building. And so it doesn't really make sense for me to continue to have that, that's something that I do each year because it was really location centric event for me. So holidayshindy.com, if you are a maker and or if you know people in the northeastern part again of the United States who are makers, this show is it's gorgeous. It's curated. It's a small show. I think there's 30 vendors, maybe 40 vendors. It's located right in Pittsfield. It's in a different location, not the same church that we owned, but a different one. It's on First Street. They just do a really good job. They take excellent care of their vendors, and people sell a ton of stuff. So it's a really good win-win. So holidayshindy.com, look for their application if you are a maker. But more, and that show is actually the second Saturday. I believe it's the second Saturday in December. I don't have the date in my mind. So you'll have to go to the website to find out more about that. But New York Sheep and Wool is coming up. And I wanted to show you a couple things that I've been working on. Let me see if I can angle this around a little bit better so you can see. So you guys might know. So I started making sweaters way back in the day. I think it was 90 something. So this is my zipper hoodie. And I made this out of Afghans. Look at that. That's it's an Afghan, the back of it, the checkerboard, a little bit of visible mending going on. And then you guys, these panels that I use for sleeves on this particular one are this beautiful gift that this man found me online. And forgive me for forgetting his name at the moment, but he had worked at a company called Cambridge Dry Goods. Anybody out there remember Cambridge Dry Goods? They made amazing sweaters that this man had worked there for his entire life. I think he started working there as a kid in high school and wound up being like the vice president of the company over his lifetime. And when the company closed, he couldn't bear to throw away all their sweater samples that they had created with their production companies all over the world. So he brought me a carload, like had the back of his, like, I think it was it an Outback or maybe a CRV, some kind of vehicle, station wagon-ish kind of vehicle, packed full of these ordered, like everything was in order, everything was labeled, like what year it was from, like where it was produced and the techniques that were used. And a lot of them are wool, and I've been using them. I've been gifting them to friends who work with sweater bits. So I have some of those left, and I've just been putting them to kind of collaging them with the fabrics that are found in the Afghan. So sweaters from sweater panels, and then the hood. I mean, it's so important to me. Like you want to, cashmere lined hood. And then I have this kind of like little Western thing going on with these yokes, right? So there's the back of that one, and then the hood kind of hangs over. So it's not quite as visible when you're not wearing your hood. And then the front has this yoke too. So I'm really kind of into the style. And I thought these are called my prairie cardigans. That's what these two are actually kind of large. So I'm gonna make a few more that are a smaller size. But just zipper hoodies, right? Like real jackety weight. Like these are pretty heavy. So if you live in a climate that's not freezing cold, it might be a good outdoor piece for your whole winter. I'm thinking Pacific Northwest would be an ideal winter coat. If you live in the hill towns in Western Massachusetts, you're probably going to want something either under it or in addition for the coldest parts of our winter. So this is my collection for this year. And then I'm also working out. These are some of the, I got to show you guys, like, hold on a second. This is one of the sweater panels that is, before I use it. So that's going in my next one, like just amazing, right? Like And if you look at the back, like the way they're knitted, they're just like gorgeous. I believe they're hand knitted. And there's two different colorways on this swatch. So, there's you can kind of see how they were used for deciding like what would go in the collection. And then check this out. I'm not sure how I'm going to use this, but like, I got to hold this up close. Somebody sent me a box of these Afghans that are just, I just can't get over it. I kind of want to make like a pantsuit out of it, but I'm not sure. I think little bits and pieces so it doesn't get overwhelming. And it's also, quite holey, so you can like poke your fingers through it. So I'm all about function. So I feel like it needs to have some sort of a backing on it. And oh, I have this dress form over here. Hold on 1 second. This is something that's not quite put together, but let me hold it up so you can see. So this is made with a blanket. See the blanket edge on the bottom there? And I'm working on kind of like a jumper / outdoor vest piece kind of thing. Not really sure how that's going to come together, but it's really, I also have a ton of the wool blankets that people have been sending me. So if you one of those people who have been generously and sometimes anonymously sending me stuff in the mail to work with, thank you so much. And yeah, so that's what I'm up to. I've got a bunch of blankets too going on, like the ones I make out of sweaters. So I'm excited. The other thing I'm working on, and actually I have some samples, but they're in the next room, so I can't go get them. But I've been needle felting to the blankets with yarn. So you can kind of like make cool patterns and stuff. And I'm super excited about that. It's like always fun to kind of find ways to stay fresh, right? Like I get a little tired of doing repeated actions or repeated processes over and over again. So I'm always kind of like thinking about new ways I can stay engaged and excited about what I'm working on. Do you have a practice for that, you guys? I mean, is that important to you to kind of like change it up so that you're not bored? For me, it's so important. And honestly, I've been doing this work since 1987. So it does get a little repetitive if you let it. And I just want to look at, there's a bunch of questions rolling in. Let me know, do you guys have questions about my process? Or I'd like to know where you're tuning in from. And if you're here with me live or if you're listening to this as a recording. So even if just a quick second, where are you coming from? Where are you live? Are you watching a recording? I would love to know. It's always really fun to just check in and see. I've actually met some really cool people who have come into my circle from these live streams. So I'm thinking about you, Carrie Shabbat, and I'm thinking about you, Jody Cox, and Donalyn Shaw. Hey, like we came together a very long time ago, Donalyn and I. Thanks for showing up every week, Donalyn. So cool. She wants to know, she says, hello, and what did the original ragamuffins sell for in the 1990s, and what would they sell for today? The first ragamuffins I ever made, again, sure wish I had one to show you. Should I go grab one? I'm going to go grab one. Hold on 1 second. Coming right back to you guys. I'm coming right back to you guys. Hello. I'm back. So Donalyn is asking about these little guys. These are called ragamuffins. And actually, there was when I made these, I made a lot of these for a long time. I think I've made probably over 10,000 of these. There were 3 different shapes. So this is one style. And the first ones I made were shaped more like I called them dinosaurs. And they sold for $22, which got me through art school in the 1980s. And now I don't really make them anymore. And when I do, I sell them for $149. And they're completely hand sewn. The reason why I don't really make them anymore, there's 2 reasons actually. One is that my hands are tired. These are completely hand sewn, and like the ends of them, you can see that this is not stuffing. It's actually like rolled fabric. So you're stitching through many layers, and it gets hard on your fingers and on your, really, my right hand is a little, it's just not as strong as it used to be. So I like to keep it as strong as it is now and not lose more strength. So I only make them very infrequently, and I usually make them either for like a promotional thing or for friends. So the next rendition is called the Wallabies, and these little guys I did as a scrap project for a weaving mill I was working with over in Ireland when I spent the winter there with my family a few years back. So the weaving mill is called Avoca. It's the oldest continually functioning weaving mill in the world, and it's been in operation since 1733. So it's also the place that I have my earliest childhood memory. When I was a little girl, we lived in Ireland, and the weaving mill was full of color and old women weaving on floor looms. At the time, it was all hand woven. And I remember going there and just like looking at the color. I have very vivid, and a picnic outdoors on a slope that went down to a little brook. And in 2016, actually, it was 2017, I went back there and it blew my mind. And I had this amazing opportunity to work with their scrap and create some marketable products from what they were actually throwing away. So, really cool project. I do that with large volume textile waste generators. And I love doing that because it allows me to have a bigger impact than I can have making sweaters in my little studio in Beckett, Massachusetts. So that is something that we can talk more about another time, the scrap projects that I do. But so the stuffed toys is how I started my business. And I couldn't really call them toys because that was like, it opened a can of worms in the safety department. So they were soft sculptures or, whatever. They had a little tag that said, do not give these to children under 3. At any rate, so yeah, so those ragamuffins got me through art school. I sold at a store with Donald and Shaw. It was a cooperative craft store. So I believe there was 72 members. I think I was the youngest member, and Donald and Shaw was a mentor, and it remains to be a mentor to me today, along with amazing other people who have came into my path there and have stayed in my path. And it's so lovely to connect with them here and there when I do. So thank you, Donalyn. Thank you for all the mentors, and thank you. Be a mentor, you guys. Like, regardless of whether or not you think that you have influence in the world, you do. And if there's creative people around you, especially younger creative people who might not have confidence in their work, shine a little light on them and tell them how awesome they are, because it really does have an impact. I'm living proof right here, living proof. So that is, let's see, I try to keep my live at 11 segments every Tuesday morning at 11 to 20 minutes. And we're just kind of closing in on a 20-minute time frame. So before I dash, would you let me know if you are, yes, Sue got the memo. Sue Facherty, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I can't see all that well without my glasses, and it takes me a minute to figure out the pronunciation of words I'm not familiar with. So Sue from UK, thank you for joining live so much. Thank you for loving my jackets. And Cal from England, usually I watch a recording, but live today, that's so cool. Jody, Jeff and Jody, thank you for loving up my new collection. Sarah Stewart in New Hampshire. Sarah Stewart in New Hampshire. Sarah's got such a cool business idea. It involves wedding dresses, you guys. And one of these days, maybe I'll have her on as a guest and she can share more about it. At any rate, if you have questions about any part of what I do in the world as far as textile upcycling goes, let me know in the comments. Leave a question. I'm always looking for ways to provide valuable content for you guys. So if you have a question, I'm sure other people share your question, and I can keep these live segments pertinent and kind of fun, right? So leave me a question. Phyllis Lauren. So can I ask Phyllis? Phyllis is my best friend. Phyllis is awesome. I love Phyllis. Phyllis and I went to college together. Phyllis saw the very first ragamuffin. She might even have, I don't know. The very first ragamuffin, you guys, was made out of handmade felt, and it was stuffed with newspaper, and it came out really cool. And I gave it to, Phyllis and I were roommates for many years, and we had other roommates as well. And I gave it to one of my roommates who I think lost it So the very first ragamuffin is kind of like, maybe it's turned into a fossil somewhere. But yeah, Phil, you're the bomb. Phyllis is an amazing creative mind as well. She makes really cool stuff, including paintings. So you guys, thanks for being awesome in the world. You know what? There's just so many really cool people. And, when you turn on the news, you hear about all the terrible things going on in the world. But honestly, there's a lot more good out there than there is bad. And I think the bad shit sells newspapers. So my thought is don't buy the newspapers and don't watch the news, and do good and affect change in your capacity and with creative hijinks and optimism, and the world will be more fun to live in. So thank you for being out there. Sarah Stewart, you are welcome for the shout out. I can't wait to see what happens next in your path with textile upcycling. And anybody else who questions I might have missed, I'll scroll through and look at your comments and address those questions in my next segment. So thank you again for being here. Every Tuesday, 11 a.m., 20 minutes. Join me, Textile Upcycling. And you know what? It's a gateway into a lifestyle that is super fun to live. It is less expensive. It's better for the environment. It's community oriented. We all get to hang out and be friends. And I don't know what could be better than that, honestly. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks for joining me.